Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's Rob Fleming in the Philippines here. The end of a very hot afternoon. And I have to say, first of all, thank you very much to all of those who have helped us, and to tell you that we still need a lot more help. We are only just scraping by. We need substantially more. And yes, I am working on it. If I'm to continue making videos, then I need more support. So please, put your hand in your pocket, go to one of the sites that I'll give you the names for, the URLs for, and just send us a little something. Doesn't have to be a huge amount, just a little something. So, leaving that to one side for the nonce, I want to talk about cans of maggots. Yeah, cans of maggots. Rotten meat, cans of rotten meat full of maggots. And I think most of you can probably feel it, in your throat, even at the thought of it. Very interestingly, a few years ago, a little while ago, a research team, sorry, I terribly need a haircut, a research team did a little experiment, and they found that by measuring the amounts of certain chemicals in saliva, that straight men who were exposed to imagery of masculine men kissing, had a reaction that was identical to the reaction they had when they saw the aforementioned can of worms, that is, can of rotten meat full of maggots. They were really disgusted. They were really repulsed by it. And this is a really interesting thing, because first of all, it says, where does that come from? Is this a socially conditioned response? Well, that seems unlikely, because basically gays are everywhere. And it's not like a big deal. I mean, I have to say most of us are not that comfortable with any kind of really over the top or overly, intimate, public displays of affection, PDAs. Most people find it a little bit icky anyway, but when it's between two guys, in straight men, it's really powerfully icky. So that asks, is it societal or is it innate? I would tend to suggest that it is innate, and I'll come to why in a minute. But it also says that, when men are repulsed in this way, I mean, in the modern world, if they express any suggestion of that, and I'll be quite honest with you, I mean, I find it, I can't watch people doing that sort of thing. They're going to be reviled. Oh, God, you're homophobia. That's terrible. It's just so natural, two men. Well, it's not. It's just so natural, two men kissing, why do you? Well, the fact is that if it is actually an innate response, then we can't help it. Just the way they say, oh, we can't help being gay because that's the way we were born. The fact is, we can't help being repulsed by observing you doing your thing in public because that's the way we were born. So, what's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander too. You have to cut us the slack that you want us to cut you. That's the first thing. Why would this have happened? We know that, in the process of sexuality developing, crystallizing, is actually quite a long process. Starting at really in the pre-pubertal stage even, when children are starting to find that playing with their bits is quite pleasant, And once they get through puberty, they start to do this quite often with others of the same sex, because they don't have access to the opposite sex, or they're too shy or something like that. But boys will tell each other, oh, I've got this thing on my phone, you want to see this? This movie, I've got this wee movie on my phone. You want to see this, right? And they'll go behind the bike shed, and then you know what they're going to do with it. And I have a very good authority that girls do exactly the same thing. Maybe not with the porn, because porn is definitely made for men, but they will teach each other how to give personal pleasure. They'll say, well, just like that, and that little button there, and he's going to feel good, and apparently it does. So there's a great deal of same-sex, maybe not penetration, but same-sex familiarity. There's a good one. Same-sex familiarity that happens in that sort of adolescent stage when people are still finding out about themselves, and it's all completely harmless. And by the way, parents should just leave them alone to get on with it, because they'll grow out of it. They will. They're going to grow out of this. Just leave them alone. Absolutely. Older adults, adult men, pederasts and such like should not be allowed anywhere near young people doing this sort of thing. But aside to that, as long as it just is the young people, leave them alone. Please, don't give them any more complexes than you already have, for goodness sake. But here's an interesting thing. You know, as we get a little older, sexuality really does show strong evidence of crystallizing, that it becomes fixed, and it can't be changed after that. I think there's some evidence that in adolescence it can be modified a little bit. It can be, to some extent, influenced by social parameters, social factors. But by the time someone's in the mid-20s, 23, 24, 25, no, there's no real chance of shifting that after that. They're fixed. What I say is their sexuality is crystallized, right? And that's it. You're not going to move it now. So why is that the case? Well, the answer is, I think, first of all, is that the brain doesn't finish developing until you're around about 24. And in fact, the brain just continues to develop all your life. It's the most responsive organ in the body, and it never stops developing. But in broad terms, we can say that, you know, neurologically, brains are pretty much crystallized by the time you're 24, which is, guess what, as we see, roughly the same time as you start to feel that your sexuality is very fixed, it's crystallized. So, why would that happen? And the answer seems to be in evolution. The reason that we are here, the reason that any of us exist, the reason that any animal exists, and we are no different, is to make the next generation of little animals, to make the little babies, and make more of them, to make the rest of us, to make the human race continue. That's why we're here. We have no other purpose. You know, in case you're wondering about it, no, you don't have any other purpose, you just need to make babies, and you've done your duty by the humanity. Well, in order to make babies, you have to stop with any of that playing around with your buddies. You have to, you know, get involved with the opposite sex. Right? That means you have to not just be attracted to women, but unprepared to satisfy any sexual urge that you might have with another male. And so I think what happens is that around about that time, especially in line with men becoming much more masculine and showing masculine characteristics like beards and hirsuteness of body, that men just find that repulsive because they're pre-programmed to find femininity attractive, right? And femininity typically is no beard, hairless body, you know, soft skin, you know, feminine shape. And so it's like, no, it's not just being attracted to femininity, it's also being repulsed by masculinity. And I think that's maybe where this idea of the can of worms comes from. That, you know, there's a point at which you go, no, that kind of behaviour isn't what we're here for. We're not allowed to do that. No, we're not going to do that. And so I think that what we have to be careful of when we're talking about this is to understand that this can of worms reaction isn't, you know, it's not like people are going out to be specifically and deliberately horrible or hostile to people with differing sexuality. It's just that they're actually programmed to find that difficult to deal with, to have the can of worms reaction. So there you are. Please discuss in the comments, as always. Remember, no ad hominems, but other than that, we're pretty open. Take care. Bye-bye.